Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up Show. I'm your host, Mr. BJ Matthews, aka BJ. Just before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. All of our YouTube videos. Let's get it popping. All right, got some time before the game tonight. Want to chat up with y'all tonight. Obviously, the biggest story right now coming out is in sports is LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith head-to-head confrontation. Now, I'm gonna give my sentiments, what I think about it. I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of the backdrop of my feelings and my, certain things Stephen A. Smith got on, first take to address it. So I'm gonna talk about what he said and what his feelings about it. But let's revisit. Last night, the Lakers and the Knicks had a great game. Went to the wire, the Lakers won. And that, instead of that being the biggest part of the morning, it was actually LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith coming out ahead. Now, LeBron ain't spoken about it. He's not going to speak about it because, he already said what he said to Stephen A. Smith. But going by the video, somebody who recorded it saw it. And that's what's becoming bigger news. And when you see the expression, the body language of LeBron James, he looked visibly upset, right? So that's what we can take. So Stephen A. Smith got on First Take early this morning and spoke about it, addressed it. And, what we thought, how he was feeling was actually accurate, upset, angry, all that. But Stephen A. Smith is the only person that can get into full detail outside of the people that's really around him. I think Marquise Morris was right next to Stephen A. Smith and LeBron, yada yada yada. But other than that, we don't really have nothing else to really look at. So Stephen A. got on First Take and said LeBron James came at him unexpectedly and addressed him about his son and the criticism that Stephen A. Smith has been saying about his son. Obviously, we know Stephen A. Smith, one of the biggest, if not the biggest sports personality on television right now. Just earned himself another, I think, $10, $100 million contract, something crazy, to talk politics on top of sports. So as far as his success goes, he has a lot of success. A multi-millionaire, living a good life, yada, 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 blessed, all that. But he, I guess, said something about his son that LeBron didn't like, or has been saying things about his son that LeBron don't like. Now, I've had my things about Stephen A. Smith, and, I've spoken about, certain takes he's made that just been out of this world crazy. I'm gonna give y'all my true opinions about all this, because I heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. I heard what he said on the TV screen, but I'm gonna tell you why I really truly think how he feels. He said in retaliation on, First Take, he said he wished it would have been done in private, not in, the open setting. That he wished that LeBron James, if he had called him, he has his phone number. His agent, Rich Paul, has his phone number. His right-hand man, Maverick Carter, has his phone number. They could have got in contact. He would have flew out, all that stuff. But instead, LeBron James decided to take it at a different action. Now, I've watched all year or all season since Bronny came into the league, and all the things that Stephen A. Smith had to say about LeBron James and his son, about his performances and how he was averaging 0.4 points a game, 0.3 points, 0.4 points a game, 0.1 rebounds, assists, all that stuff. And I'm gonna say this, based on what I've heard Stephen A. Smith say about LeBron James in that situation, like he said in his skit today, he said that everything I've said about that is geared toward not your son, to you, to putting him into situations where he's not ready to be put in, and that you're actually making the situation work to really, let's just be honest, to really up your bottom line, which is, you want to be the guy that's being told that this is the first time you play with your son. Now, let me tell you, I don't have children. I have a niece, beautiful niece. I help raise my little brother, but I don't have like a full-blown child. But I do have experience what it is to look out for somebody younger. Based off of Stephen A. Smith's comments, he said to himself, that wasn't a superstar basketball player approaching me like that. I was a father. And because of that, he ain't going to say anything more disrespectful on the segment, which he talked about First Take. He basically said, look, I've never looked at, disrespecting LeBron James as a father. My only criticism was how he was putting his son out there when we all see that he's not ready, and constantly causing more, bad than good. And based off of me going back, watching, and I wish I had my computer, I could actually show y'all visibly. Y'all got two hands, y'all can look this up yourself. Go back and listen to all the segments since Bronny came and got drafted to this point on what Stephen A. Smith has said about Bronny James. It's all been geared towards LeBron James being responsible. But according to Stephen A. Smith, he said that he made it seem that if Stephen A. said something personal about Bronny, the person, or he said something personal about him as a father. That's not what he said. He spoke specifically on basketball. Let me explain something to y'all again. I'm not the biggest Stephen A. Smith fan. I'm not. I've been frustrated about what he's been talking about with Kawhi, and Kawhi has been silent up until Ty Lue got onto, this segment and said he's trying to, he's not stealing money, none of that. And since then, you ain't heard nothing said about, Kawhi from Stephen A. Smith. Now, maybe that might change, but we've seen a history of Stephen A. Smith going at guys. You've seen him going at Kwame Brown for years, to the point where he checked him after, I think, 10 years. Kwame Brown finally checked him to the point where nobody thought he talked. How he went at Kyrie Irving, and then, Kyrie Irving had to address him behind closed doors, or his father did. And then you got this situation, you had Kawhi for a period of time. Now Ty Lue had to come, and now you got LeBron James, his son. So I'm not the biggest Stephen A. Smith fan, but in terms of this, I think LeBron James just really wants to be able to control the narrative, and that's just really been the only thing about it. If you want to know the foundation about LeBron James, it's to control the narrative. I'm not even upset or angry or mad that he got his son into the league, because that's how the world works. When you are a player as powerful, a person as powerful as LeBron James, you can make certain things happen. When you have everything in life is not going to be equal. We like to think it is, but it's not. We all know that certain people get promotions that they don't deserve. They get certain, access they don't deserve. They get certain perks that they don't deserve. And that's fine. Actually, it ain't fine. I like it when people get things that if you want to use nepotism, use it for somebody who's ready for the situation. But if you're going to do what you did, and you're going to say that Bronny can play in the league now, that's what you said before he got drafted. I've seen Bronny James play personal when he's at Sierra Canyon out here. It wasn't nothing special about him. Good athlete, undersized, good average, good shooter, not much ball handler, underrated defender, right? So there's a lot of stuff that he has, but unfortunately, to say that you NBA ready is a whole different animal, right? But if you're gonna go out there, your son better know everybody else. If you're gonna go out there and say, well, this guy, my son is ready for the moment right now, and he doesn't do what you have said to him to do, you can't come back and then try to circle around and say, well, you're talking about my son. No, that's not how it works. He didn't say that you were a bad father or your son was a bad child. But from what I've seen, every segment I saw, he kept praising your son. He kept praising Bronny, saying he was a good kid. I've met Bronny myself. His former coach at Sierra Canyon, I've had on my show, Coach E from Sierra Canyon. He coaches at Westlake. Coach Edward Estevan. He coached Bronny for his high school team and his AAU team. Right? So no one has nothing bad to say about your son in terms of that. It's just a situation where your son, basketball-wise, as we've seen, was not ready for the moment. You had no choice to pull back. Now, let me talk about this. Sometimes as parents, or sometimes as, like I said, I have an older brother who plays ball myself. I'm going to make it about me. I was using me as an example. We have people that we love and care about like Stephen A. Smith said, that wasn't a child, that wasn't a superstar player, that was a father. And for what I've seen before, I've seen LeBron check other people about his kids. Like, he loves his family. Don't get it twisted. He loves his wife, he loves his, 2 boys, and he loves his daughter. So I'm not going to question that. But sometimes you can want something for your child so much that they skip steps. They skip steps, and you don't see the damage you're doing until you're actually embarrassed and you're forced to maneuver, make a decision. That's all I think Stephen A. Smith was really talking about. Like, he's not ready, like a lot of us was talking about. He ain't ready for this moment yet. He's not ready to be an NBA player yet. He's not on that level yet, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Look what he's doing in the G League right now. And to be honest with you, he didn't really give much of a college resume. He didn't even, play in college. You know what I'm saying? He got time, in college. But he had, of course, that heart situation. If it was my personal decision, I would have basically just, went out there and just played my sophomore year and possibly my junior year and got my numbers up and got in that way. Because you already know, and it's just on some basketball stuff. The same way people, the old heads and people who are the times before some of them don't respect how LeBron's pathway is. It's the same way that a lot of these players who play up against Bronny feel. They're going to go out there and try to terrorize him based off of just, him getting that handout. Because you got to remember, playing in the G League, you got a bunch of hungry dogs in there trying to get that opportunity. They don't care who your daddy is. You can't save when you in them trenches. No one can save you, right? But I gotta give Bronny must be very mentally tough, because most people would have probably they would have already folded. So he's definitely a mentally tough kid. But all I'm saying is that you already draw enough attention to him as it is. I can recall, I think on the shop on LeBron's show, he spoke about the pressures that Bronny had to face being his son. He said one of the biggest regrets, he said naming him right after him. But the problem is that he looks just like LeBron. He looks exactly, if you look at LeBron's picture when he was young, that's how Bronny looks right now at 18. Same afro, same, like you could tell that's his son. So that's another level of connection. Bryce got some features of LeBron James, but he doesn't completely look like his son. So this is what I'm gonna say about this. I don't think Stephen A. Smith said anything bad. I think he was in bounds. He didn't speak about him negatively as a father. But, and I've said this before, even about this top 5 situation, is I think his fans have basically gotten comfortable and gotten spoiled where nobody else can have an opinion about him. Let me tell you something. I grew up on Kobe. That was my favorite player. The amount of stuff that was said about Kobe by the media that was untrue, that nobody even knew about, that people just ran with as a narrative. He was selfish, he was arrogant, even this whole rape charge he was acquitted from. All the stuff that he was actually, that nobody could really prove. They just wanted to, throw dirt on his name because he wanted to be like Mike. You never heard Kobe Bryant going back and forth with the media and try to, and I'm not saying LeBron, they're two different people, but all I'm saying is people act like LeBron has been so unfairly judged, when in reality, if you look at the network, ESPN, a lot of his people, Kendrick Perkins, Richard Jefferson, who else am I thinking of? Kendrick Perkins, Richard Jefferson, Nick Wright, Colin Cowherd, even Stephen A. Smith. You know what I'm saying? Even Stephen A. Smith has always, they speak glowingly about him. And they said before, like, You know, you say anything bad about LeBron James, you're a hater. If you say that he's a top 2 player of all time, he should be. Why is he not over Jordan? My personal opinion, Jordan is over LeBron James because he accomplished more in less time, right? More championships, more finals MVPs, defensive player of the year. You know what I'm saying? He was more dominant in his short period of time. That's more impressive to me than a guy who's playing 22, 23 years to try to get over. People look at the glass half full instead of half empty. And when you have a LeBron James, you need a Stephen A. Smith to create order. Just Shannon Sharp, I forgot about him as well. How can I forget Shannon Sharp? When you have all those people at ESPN who constantly speak and try to gloss up LeBron James, he has plenty of support. Support Kobe never had. Go back and look at Kobe's support in the media. The media hated Kobe Bryant. That's why I will never buy into this notion that LeBron James is just so unfairly criticized. Y'all do understand the same NBA that y'all, tend not to like or, claim is non-competitive. He's been the face of the league. So you're really talking about what he created. The super team dynamic, teaming up with players. Not to say that super teams weren't created, but that was done by the managers and GMs. Players didn't have that type of power. It's a double-edged sword. As much as players have more power and they have player empowerment, which LeBron started, they have the freedom to move around and team up and, take the competition out. It's a double-edged sword because you guys complain about that. So who are you really talking about? My thing is this. When going back to Stephen A. Smith, he didn't say nothing out of bounds about LeBron James. It don't really bother me that he pressed him at the, arena, because, I always live by this motto: you can't step on my shoes and tell me how to react. But at the end of the day, did he really step on your shoes, or did he just really tell you what you didn't want to hear because you thought it was going to end up different? Again, LeBron James wants to control the narrative. I've seen LeBron James speak candidly, speak calculatively, speak in a certain way when he's in front of the camera that he doesn't speak when he's behind closed doors. It's that Kyrie Irving situation where the media members asked him about the whole the Semitism, indicating that Kyrie was some type of racist. Now, this is your teammate that you play with that helped you win a championship. What better opportunity to stick up for him and say that this is not who he is? Not to say that you got to basically just be like all out, okay, trying to, go out your way, but just say, look, I know Kyrie, I know what he's about. Nothing. What you did was simply say that he was sorry, as if it was basically him, agreeing that he was that type of person. That he's not a racist type of person. To save yourself, to be, politically correct. The Russell Westbrook situation. Everybody in LA hated Russell Westbrook, and that's where he's from. Right? And made it seem like his career, he couldn't play basketball, when all it came down to, he just didn't fit with you because you guys play the exact same way. Which is another thing, LeBron James having to sacrifice his game. But you as a teammate, you as the captain, you as the leader of the team, never stepped in and said that, look, this is a guy that's trying to, fit into a situation. Me trying to play with him, lay off, he's an all-time great player, he's a Hall of Fame, yada, yada, yada. Not one time did you step in outside of the beginning of the season and speak up for Russell Westbrook. Even though he was giving you 17, 7, and 7, the statistics he had were still close to all-star production, but the media, which I'm going to talk about this later, put it out there he was somehow washed. That's the type of stuff I see LeBron James do. He's going to control the narrative. He's going to speak a certain way one way, and when he's somewhere else, he's going to speak something different. So you just got to really know who it is, what he is with LeBron James, and who his fan base is, right? That's why I've already made it clear. No LeBron James can bully me to try to move him up my list or down my list. I have LeBron James in my top 5, and I think that's good enough. I've seen Jordan, I've seen Kobe, I've watched Kareem's highlights. I see his resume, who's I think the best resume of all time. I've seen Magic Johnson's resume. I've seen what he has done with LA, and then I've seen Tim Duncan beat LeBron James 2 out of 3 times. So I'm not going to be oblivious, and I'm not going to be ignorant to think that these other players don't deserve to be on that top list, just like, you know, LeBron though. But see, a lot of y'all fall into the cap and fall into the, you know, the storylines and the narrative that LeBron James just automatically deserves to be top 2 or 3. I don't look at it like that. I don't look at everything half full with LeBron and half empty. If you're going to look at the things, again, with LeBron James, you got to look at both ends. Yes, you went to the finals 10 times, but you lost 6 of them. Yes, you got 4 championships, but it took you 22 years to do it. Yes, you have these statistics and stats, but the game is so much different now, where they get the opportunities to you controlling the basketball, less physical. Yes, you won championships, but yes, look at the teams that you had to build to get them. You see what I'm saying? But people don't look at the story. They don't look at the entire picture, whether they're smart enough to do it or not, or they just don't want to look at it. You gotta look at both ends. If you're gonna tell me this guy is a top 2, top 3 player of all time, you gotta look at every single thing, the moments, right? And if you're gonna tell me he's better than Michael Jordan, you sure as hell better come with a good argument. But again, we live in a society right now that basically, you know, is sensitive to everything. If they can't even speak when it comes to LeBron James. But that's all I gotta say about that. I don't have no problem with what Stephen A. Smith did. I don't think really Stephen A. Smith, I think he said what he said on the air, but behind closed doors, he probably saying, man, I ain't say nothing bad about that situation. I'm not taking nothing back, but I do understand as a father, as a black man, I'm going to respect what he did. And that's all I'm gonna say about it. But until next time, pull up, see, pull up, chair, pull out. Peace. Out of here like swimwear.